Hi, Henry.
Hi, Simon.
Hello. So we are back.
Hello.
Yeah.
Welcome back to
Hi.
Warwick WASD 2023. Currently, we've got £488, and I think it's about £50, and we get the chippy.
We're close to the chippy.
We're very
donation
close to
goal.
the chippy. So if there's anything you donate for, like, come on, the chippy.
We need to reach it in the next, I think, roughly 50 minutes. Otherwise, the chippy will be closed by the time they get there.
Yeah. So viewers at home, you got to donate to see the Binley mega chip. I think the mega chippy was trending on TikTok for a while, wasn't it? I think
Yeah, maybe like 10 years ago. Like
Yeah,
it's a pretty dead meme nowadays. But
Okay, I
It's
don't know
content.
anything about memes. I'm like a 7-year-old man. But anyway, up next we have the Portal 2 run. It's gonna be run by Fridge, I think.
Yep.
So I mean,
Hello.
hello.
Hi, Fridge.
Hi, Fridge. So I guess the run starts now. It's inbound, no SLA, because from what I know, apparently Portal 2 can be broken. Like,
What does that actually mean?
I think,
Portal 2. So inbounds no SLA just means inbounds no save load abuse.
yeah. Okay,
Okay, I see.
fair enough. Well, we have the name up. Everything's ready. When does the timer start?
I can tell you when the timer starts. It'll start about 7-ish seconds into the kind of cutscene here.
Hi, Henry.
Am I good to? Yeah, sure. So then we should be starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start.
All right. Timer started. Let's go.
Yeah.
And this is Portal 2.
Okay. Now the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do a bunch of really quick, just kind of starting inputs and looking up, looking down, doing the exercise that Aperture Science wants us to do when we wake up from our relaxation.
All right. Okay.
And, we're going to now look at this painting for the mental side of it. But it's basically just a really simple cutscene, and it'll be going on for quite a while.
Okay.
Which then gives me time to explain kind of some of the basics of this after I go into the second part of this cutscene.
Yeah, that's cool.
We'll have the music
cool.
going. And then now, I had to spam use on this bed to start us into this cutscene. And I'm going to hold A and S back so that I get to the back of this hallway here.
And why that?
So that I can get to this door as quick as possible.
Ah, okay.
Because then, once Wheatley comes in the door, then we're going to start this going quickly. And kind of a couple terms I'm going to use throughout this to give some quick explanation to is I'm going to refer to this game in ticks, which you can imagine that is just frames in most games. However, Source Engine specifically runs in ticks, and it's in this game 60 ticks a second.
Okay.
So all the inputs I'm doing here are really easy to do tick perfectly. It's just a matter of being where I need to be at the right time.
Okay.
And as you're kind of seeing here, I'm going to be moving a lot with my A and D keys, as you can see with the input HUD on the bottom left.
Nice.
And one thing to note is that if you're holding W, you'll get this 175 speed. However, if you kind of hold A and then turn, you'll get more than that 175 speed.
Okay.
Which then also translates to the air.
So you can kind of like turn into moves, and then you end up going faster.
Most test subjects
cognitive deterioration. And then we'll be doing that a bunch in the run, and then I gotta jump under Wheatley.
And it's not out of the question
Sure.
that you might have
How long have you been running Portal 2?
My first run was in late November of 2020.
Okay.
I have what they affectionately call a pandemic runner.
Do you understand?
I apologize.
Yeah. What, for being a pandemic runner?
What? No, for the pandemic.
Oh, I thought you were apologizing.
Yeah, sorry, it was my fault specifically.
Yeah, your fault was Keegan. Come on, man.
Just hold tight.
But no, I am one of many people that started running the game kind of in that mid to late 2022 period where,
Yeah.
I mean, none of us had much we were doing.
Yeah, that's fair. I was doing absolutely nothing during
At
COVID.
least we have time to do the speedrun, I suppose.
Yeah.
I also saw you speedrun a 30 other games as well, right?
Sorry, say that again?
I saw you've also speedrun a 30 other games, right?
I've speedrun Superliminal a bit in the past. I don't do it as actively anymore. I've speedrun a bunch of Portal ILs, but this is my main speed game.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's a good game. It's a very good game. I think
100%.
Yeah, from like casually playing it, I enjoyed it a lot. So
So I suppose the elephant in the room, unless it's already been addressed, is the UI.
yeah, no, it hasn't.
What exactly is happening in the middle of your screen?
So what's happening is Wheatley's kind of taking us in what used to be kind of our hotel room that we were in our suspended sleep in. And now he's going to be trying to get us to what he is going to refer to a gun that doesn't shoot bullet holes. Which, of course, refers to the title of the game, Portal 2.
Yeah.
But we're going to be going into this test, going to be doing a little bit more waiting after we jump into the main container area. And then we'll be kind of on our way to getting our first portal gun.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
There's that line that I was referring to earlier. But Wheatley tends to try to cut out the middleman when it comes to safety or anything like that. So that's why I was just ramming the container in.
Yeah.
So I see you've got your controller prompts on screen as well, of like all the feature preferences. And also something, like, I guess is that some debug when you stuff? Is this to like
so this is we have this plugin that is made by mostly Mlug. However, a bunch of people have worked on it over the years, in what we call it SAR, which is short for Source Auto Record, which is going to be recording the proof standards for this game, which is demos, as well as putting these HUD elements on the screen. So the angles, my velocity, my ground frames, and the input HUD on the bottom left are all added through SAR.
And is this done just to make sure that your run is legitimate then? Mainly.
Oh wow, that suggests that there might have been a reason for that being.
Oh no. Yeah.
That being a thing.
But
These are
it's all amazing stuff added by SAR and makes this game such a breeze to run. And then here we're just going to be kind of doing this test fast, as normally you would still have to hit these buttons and get the cube, and we're going to use the bunny hopping I mentioned earlier to just speed that up by a lot.
So I suppose another thing that people might be thinking is, so the category, it's called inbounds no SLA. Would you be able to explain what that means? Oh, did you already say that?
Yeah, so...
Oh, I was like, oh, okay, I apologize.
I mean,
I was at the toilet and I came back.
yeah. I mean,
I
I
can give it a brief run through again.
Yeah.
Basically, inbounds just refers that I gotta say in the bounds of the what is categorized as inbounds by the game. Because what's special about Source games in particular is they categorize inbounds and out of bounds within the game engine rather than like a measure that is placed by players themselves. And with that, it makes it really easy for us to just know, hey, is this oob, is this not oob? And then with NoSlaw, this game has a lot of really funky glitches when it comes to saving and loading. A lot of them skip pretty big parts of the game, as the kind of counterpart to this category, being any percent, is about 20 minutes quicker than the record for inbounds NoSlaw, with those glitches. And
So you are still saving and loading, I guess, to make sure that you don't lose progress, but it won't be exploiting any of those particular glitches.
correct.
Okay.
Because if you save in an area where you're not really near portals as much, and there's not really much that can break, you can make saves pretty safely.
Okay.
And then you can just reload those saves. And then one thing that I've been doing at the last couple of elevators that I haven't mentioned yet is kind of the more famous analogy when it comes to people that do marathons of this game or just general speedruns is imagine a bus. Where in the elevator, every 2 seconds, there's a trigger that looks at if the dialogue has ended for the chamber. Because the game wants you to hear all the dialogue that has been recorded for this game. But if we go in at a wrong time, then we could lose a bunch of time of just waiting.
Okay. So you're just skipping all the dialogue then? Kind of.
Not skipping it necessarily, just skipping the amount of time where I'm just waiting in the elevator with the dialogue already being
Okay.
Yeah, I do vaguely remember having to wait for Wheatley to finish a big speech before being able to progress to the next level. I suppose that's something you don't really want to have to deal with.
Yeah.
That said, if you are simple-minded,
and then this is going to be looking a bit like an earthquake, but this is something newer that has kind of been put into the community, and it is known as view snap, where basically by putting our sensitivity at a very, very high amount, we can skip some of the distance that would normally be made by smaller sensitivities, which then makes precise shots like that a lot easier.
That was a very nice portal shot.
And then another thing that happened in that chamber is this is just going to be kind of movement for a bit. Is the shot that I was shooting through is there are some models in this game that have a very, very tiny hole in the model.
Okay.
Just because the game is made perfectly with no issues. And with there being that very tiny gap in the door model, we can just shoot right through it to the portal surface on the other side and skip about 1:30 worth of dialogue.
Wow.
Proper maniac.
Yeah.
Do you know? Still held.
And then this trick coming up is going to be one of the bigger tricks in the run. I hope I hit it because it's hard to... If I don't hit it, then it's not going to be possible for me to re-get it just because I have to wait 2 minutes to make sure the trick actually works. But basically, I'm going to get on top of this here so that I can set up to do a trick that's going to go over an invisible wall that's at the very top so that I can stand on a clipboard to make the game freak out a little bit and then give me invincibility. However, the trick can be a bit inconsistent.
That's God. It's quoting God.
And that part I got first try, so that's good. Pausing there and unpausing makes it so that boost is way more consistent. You can do it without the pauses in the IL side of things, however, on keyboard and mouse it's a lot harder to do. And then I'm just going to attempt to stand on this clipboard. Physics objects in this game don't have the most fun time with the player. However, this should work. It's moving under my feet, which is a good sign. But then I'm just gonna wait here, let GLaDOS kind of do her dialogue real quick. She's gonna pick us up pretty shortly. And what happens by me standing on the clipboard is that my hitbox that is remaining at the incinerator, if it's on that clipboard, it's not gonna get pushed away by the fins that open with the incinerator. So then I can ride the clipboard down into the end level trigger early, which saves 6 seconds as is, but then over the course of the run it will save me about 30. Which is a huge time save. And looks like I got unlucky, which is unfortunate. However, I can make notes of where those tricks will show up at the points in the run.
We have a £4.20 donation, a classic, saying shout out to Simple Flips. anonymous donation.
Oh, okay, nice.
We also have another donation of £1 from a comedy that says, "Say speedrun without the S and drun."
Peed. Oh,
yes.
fuck.
You can't just... Wow, didn't even think about it, just said it. You should be careful.
Keegan, you can't say that sort of stuff on air.
There will be people who will, like, they'll put a donation name, you'll say it, and then you'll go, oh, wait.
Wait, I'm about to get banned, aren't I? Okay, thank you whoever did that for making it like at least a little bit tame. If that was like...
That's a warm-up.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I won't get caught out a second time doing that. It's all good. It's all good.
Just like old times. Good. You have the dual portal device. There. Once testing starts, I'm required by protocol to keep interaction with you.
Second chapter coming up, we're going to be going through a couple of maps that would normally introduce us to lasers, which is going to be a new mechanic in the game. However, we actually, in laser intro, we don't use the lasers. We use some clever portal placements here to just fling right to the end.
Who knows?
Which then skips us having to wait for the laser receiver and the laser emitter to actually get put into the chamber properly. And then here we're going to be using portals in a clever way again, where normally you have to get the cube, put it on the ground, have this laser redirection cube, put the laser into the receptacle, and then get up and put that cube on the button. However, we can just get the cube right to the end by using portals in a clever way to end the level as quick as we can. And this map, named Dual Lasers, which is where we're supposed to use 2 lasers, we're actually only going to use 1. Where we're going to do a quick trick called Laser Switch Glitch. And with Laser Switch Glitch, what's happening is that each receptacle, when a laser... once the laser gets taken away from the laser receptacle, there's 4 ticks where it is still active even though there's technically not a laser in it. And if you switch to the other laser receptacle, then both would be active. Where then if the player is against the door will activate, and since the door doesn't want to crush you, then it'll just remain open as if you solved the chamber properly. And then this is a relatively flashy trick called Wet Maker.
Okay.
Where the reason it's called Wet Maker is because back when it was discovered, it would make a lot of people wet in the goo because, well, they would fall into the goo. It's a hard trick. And
nice.
Yeah.
I'll give you credit.
Very smooth.
This map coming up here, I'm gonna kind of... It's gonna be a pretty obvious notion of like the dialogue manipulation, which makes us go a lot quicker. Which is that the game is looking for when an object hits that button to hit the end dialogue. However, if we grab a camera that's on the wall, then we can just place the camera on there and it starts the end dialogue early. So then that gets the end dialogue moving.
So it doesn't check for which type of object, or like not enough.
We just take carbon dioxide out of a room, freshen it up a little, and pump it back in. So you'll be breathing
the same one thing with this game, since now we're seeing a bunch of catapults being introduced. You'll notice in this game that I can only go quickly when I'm on axis with the map. And that is because... there you go, weird bounce there. Should be able to cover... but that's because of catapults, where since they launch you with so much velocity in a given direction, they didn't want the player to just be able to strafe with all that momentum into a different direction to abuse the puzzles.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah, and then that fact just transfers to all of the movement in the game. Which makes this game very unique compared to every other Source game, because I believe we're the only Source game that has a soft movement cap. And it makes speed hopping a lot, in my opinion, a lot more fun, because you have to, you know, kill your speed and then regain it around corners and all that kind of fun stuff. And then we have another big trick that's coming up here called a super reportal. We're gonna see super reportals in all different kind of ways.
We've had the
The wet maker. We had the wet maker, and now we have the super portal now.
Yeah, and there I kind of messed up the tricks slightly, because normally you're supposed to get 5 reportals when you're on the ground, but I was only able to get 4 because I missed one of my inputs. But then
how much time
you can
do you
just place the portal on that. Sorry, say that again?
Oh, I was just wondering how much time you lose because you only got 4 portals instead of 5.
Only about 2 seconds, since I was able to hit the portal on that one surface and then do an additional reportal as I was going through it.
Okay.
However, compared to the next quickest route, it saves about a second. Oh, placed that portal too far left. Compared to the next quickest IL strat, it saves about a second, but to the next like full game strat, it saves about 5 or 6.
Okay.
You have an interesting portal gun there.
This next test involves emancipation grills.
Is it modded?
One thing that's nice about this game is you can modify assets really easily. So I just used an old piece of art and I overlaid it. And then this is going to be another big trick involving dialogue manipulation, which I hit first try, which is cool. Where basically in the air there are 2 triggers that control the dialogue, because normally you have to hit this 3 times before the ceiling starts to lower. However, in the air, if we time our crouches correctly and we hit both of those triggers twice, the game freaks out and is just like, oh, well, you've already gone through as many times as you're supposed to go through. So then it starts playing that end-level dialogue about 40 seconds quicker.
Okay.
For many that kind of like just the miscellaneous speedrun content, you may notice this map from a video from M. Sushi, who's kind of one of the more popular runners of Portal 2. Who made a whole video about the history of the IL routes in this map, which very extensive route, extensive history.
Okay. How
this
big
Sorry,
is the Portal 2 speedrunning community?
Like an eagle, piloting a blimp.
I believe we have I think we have about 2,500 people in the Discord.
Nice.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Enjoy this next
No, this is the kind of game that I would
community.
really enjoy speedrunning, just because like Portal, like as a game on its own, Portal 2 is really really fun, and then like being able to solve puzzles in like a interesting speedrunning kind of way, that's just kind of cool to
You
me.
do have to deal with the Source Engine's bunny hopping.
That
which is
is
definitely quite
true.
to get used to.
That is true.
It is a lot of fun. I have about, prior to when I started speedrunning this game, I have about 1,200-ish hours in just casual play.
Oh, damn.
Nice.
Because I've been
I
playing it
assume
on and
that's
off
the way this
since.
as well.
I did see some humans.
I've been playing it on and off since.
Test subjects and all I ever need.
Got
Yeah,
too
that's
much
fair
speed
enough.
there.
These bridges are made from natural light
however,
that I pump in from the surface.
In that time,
If you rub
I
your
hadn't
cheek on them, it would be
really
like
known the
standing
speedrun,
outside with the
because I
sun
started playing in
shining
like
on your
2014 and then
face. It would also set
just
your
kind of
hair on fire,
casually
so
as a
don't
kid, I was
have
like,
to
oh, this game's fun, it has portals and such.
But that was an interesting cube glitch.
Yeah, so how that glitch
Your
works is that you have
and
a
these tests are your prey. Speaking of which, I was
basically with how
researching
portals
sharks for
work,
an
sometimes it
upcoming
can make cubes
Do you
and
know who
walls
else murders
just able to have
people
stuff
while
go
only
through,
trying
and
to
this is
help
actually
them? Did you get
probably the
shot?
more famous trick of the
Because that's
game,
wrong.
called door
The
skip.
correct
Let's see if I
answer
can
is
hit it.
nobody.
Door
Where
skip.
basically,
Who is that pointlessly
yeah,
poor?
where you have to gain enough speed to get through the door before it closes, and then we skip the door.
Okay.
This trick is one of those tricks that even like top players can have issues with, just because it's all about kind of the rhythm. And if your rhythm's off when you're attempting it, then you're not gonna
Perfect it
have a
first. You're not going to
good time
perfect
for
it. And then I'm assuming you lose time if you don't perfect it as well.
I'm going to
Correct.
laminate your
So,
skeleton and pose you in the lobby. That way future
if you were to sit
generations
through the
will
entire
benefit
cutscene, you
from
would gain
not
about a
having
minute.
your unfortunate
So it's definitely worth
However,
retrying a
there's
few times.
technically
In fact,
yeah,
you did
there's another
so
skip
well,
that you
I'm
can
going
do
to
there that
focus
is
on the
completely
fun
random,
in the
called
commendation section.
Lucky Door,
Oh, there's
where
lots
while
of
the door
good
is twitching,
Did
you
well.
can just get through sometimes.
Oh. Why? Is this just because of the source engine being the source engine, or?
This next test involves
yeah.
turrets. You remember them, right? They're the pale spherical things that are full of bullets. Oh wait, that's you in 5 seconds. Good luck.
Right, that's why. I'm used to having invincibility up to this point, so I got confused when I got killed. But this chamber's another one that's gonna be kind of just beating it quickly. It's kind of the last couple have been for the most part. Like turret intro was just you pretty much do the intended solution, but just use portals to go quickly.
Okay.
This one's pretty much the same. You go over, you place the cube on the ground so you can start the dialogue and then get out.
The point is, yesterday was your birthday.
Let's go listen for the dialogue.
I thought you'd want to know.
And then the next map is going to be showing a new glitch off called turret boosting. And basically how this works is it's using the idea that the turrets can sometimes give you a push because they're shooting at you, and then you can use that boost to clear gaps.
Okay.
Normally if I had invincibility, there's a different route that I would do where I jump off a turret to get to the cube more directly.
Why would
however,
you do that instead? Does it just give you more time? Or does it
like do the turret hop over that
yeah.
turret
That's
boost?
nice. That's nice.
Well,
yeah.
The turret hop, you don't have to travel as much distance. It's just a kind of a cleaner line.
Yeah.
I managed to find 2 with your last name.
And then this would be another one that has that same example where instead of waiting on the button there, you can just hop past the turrets and get the cube.
Okay.
And then they would be getting killed while the laser is here.
Surprise waiting for you after this next test. Telling you would spoil the surprise. So I'll just give you a hint. It involves meeting 2 people you haven't seen in a long time.
And then this is another map where it's kind of just doing the intended solution quickly. Where you place this bridge, that bridge, get the cube, and then just hop to this platform as quick as you can, jump to hit the dialogue early, and then end the level.
It says this next test was designed by one of Aperture's Nobel Prize winners. It doesn't say what the prize was for. Well, I know it wasn't.
And then the next map is one that recently had a big skip found, but unfortunately since I missed the trick earlier with what we call Bets Rider for that invincibility, I won't be able to show it off, but I'll give it a quick explanation. Basically, you can get into the observation room that'll be on the left here, and in there you can place portals in such a way to where the player's hitbox gets put into the end level area because it's looking for the player's hitbox gets stuck. Cube's in my way. The player's hitbox gets stuck, but then when the player's hitbox gets stuck, you can place portals in such a way to where the game figures out a way to unstick you from the wall, and then it will unstick you into up there. And then we go right into another big skip, which is more precise and is definitely not the favorite skip among the community. Just because it's not RNG, it has a bit of pseudo RNG elements, and there it was, I get it third try. But basically we click through the elevator using a similar premise, and then we could end the level early. And it's nice because that level has a very special ending where it ends on when the player hits the trigger rather than the elevator, like with the maps with dialogues. And that laser fell too far that way.
Well, you know the old formula. Comedy equals tragedy.
And then this is another map where we kind of just do the intended solution for the most part. One thing that we don't do intended is we don't open up the platform that'll be near the end. We just kind of strafe over and into the door. And then in the next chamber, which is triple laser, probably the most famous map when it comes to the inner Portal 2 community. But we're going to be doing the same trick that we did earlier in dual lasers, where we switch the lasers between the receptacles, except we're going to do it between 3 of them, and then we're going to do it twice, so that I can open the door and get in, and then... Let's do the dialogue real quick. And then once I'm in the exit door, I can do it again, so that the end level dialogue
warn you
begins.
that this next test chamber is looking pretty good. I think these test chambers look even better than they did before. It was easy, really. You just have to look at things
And
objectively.
this is another... Ooh, what's that portal?
And trim out.
This is another trick that, for the most part, is just kind of abusing how the level works.
I've got a surprise for you after
on
this
a,
next
like...
test. Not a fake,
I gotta
tragic
move over a
surprise
little bit,
like
so
last time. A real surprise with tragic consequences. With tragic
go.
consequences.
But then if we place portals quickly in this way, we can get behind this wall sooner. And then we can hit the trigger that starts that wall opening and then just hop the gap rather than needing the bridge to do it.
Consequences. And real confetti this time. What's going on? Who turned off the lights?
And then this is kind of the point where we're going to be moving a lot into where movement is the main factor of how fast you go. While other maps definitely, movement is a factor that exists, these maps are pretty much all movement exclusive. There's not really like a trick that makes the map go quickly. It is just how fast you move.
What would you say is the most difficult part of the run for you?
You say how much the difficulty was over the run?
I'm asking, like, what's like the most difficult part of the run for you?
Probably chapter 6 and 7. So like right now we're going into chapter 5.
Is that the underground
chapter 6
bit?
and 7.
6 and 7. That's underground,
only
right?
what bits are?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I suppose everything's
but
underground,
that's-
but very underground.
Yeah, we'll be going into the old aperture side of things. I got a bad save, maybe. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Ew. That one should be a good save. Yeah. Okay. But in chapter 6 and 7, we see a lot of glitches that are more. What's the word I'm looking for? They're more easy to mess up, or they're more easy to just kind of give you time loss, or kind of that kind of philosophy. This is also just tripping me up a little bit. This railing, me and this railing have a bad relationship, because that railing does not give me a good time when I am doing IL levels of this run as well. However, one thing that you may notice that is now more prevalent is that these hallways are lit up. And for those that have played this game casually, you'll know that these are usually pitch black. So I can turn on full bright so that I can see and that people that are watching the streams can see. Because there's simply just different strengths of monitors that can see different things. So like normally I can't see this on my monitor. However, I have a friend who I did a marathon with on Thursday, who can see through all of the darkness just fine, just because he has a more higher end monitor.
It's surprising how much difference lighting can make to a game.
Yeah, 100%.
Ended up giving me the worst possible job, tending to all the smelly humans. Oh, I'll tell you.
And this map will have a trick that we saw. Stuck on the servers there. This will have a trick that we saw earlier in the run. It was when I was using ViewSnap for the first time in that Wheatley map, where I skipped a bunch of his dialogue. We're going to see that same model where we're going to shoot a gap through. We're going to shoot through a gap, sorry. And then it'll be a lot more obvious what's happening because there's nothing that's obstructing it. Like there's no broken geometry, there's no moss, nothing that was there to kind of give the the vibe that the facility had been untouched for thousands of years. So we're gonna go here. I'm gonna aim at a very specific coordinate so that I can come over to here and then aim at another specific coordinate so that I can just shoot through the top of that door. And that's what happened in that earlier map as well.
Only the turret control center.
We have a £3 donation from Coffee with a smiley face saying, yes, feel it. I think they mean the donation we sent if we had for them to go and run to Binley Mega Chippy.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Felix, for taking one for the team.
And getting us all some nice fish and chips for everyone down here.
Yeah.
That did not end well. And 40 potato batteries. Embarrassing. I mean, I realize they're children, but still.
And then one thing to note in the last map is that this game doesn't save any information between maps unless it is something that deals with some sort of counter. So like Bet's Rider, which would give me invincibility, that's controlled by a counter in-game that says if the player is still in a cutscene or not. And we'll have another trick later in the game that uses the same kind of counter system. But with things like story events, those don't really exist. So even though we never actually sabotaged... I missed one of the pipes. Since I never actually sabotaged the turrets in the previous map, technically GLaDOS should not have bad turrets that are going to be going to her in the next map. However, once we get there, it'll be evident that she already has those bad turrets, which then allows us to do these skips like that. And then if you have anything to advertise or any donations, we got about a minute of cutscene here.
Neurotoxin pressure has reached dangerously unlethal levels.
If not, I can give some more background to the game.
And so well, I mean, not quite at the end.
I can't believe I'm finally doing
Well, almost at the chapter 6-7 bit, I think.
I knew this would be fun.
Yeah, so after this map, we'll have the kind of midway point of the run, where we meet GLaDOS again. She tries to kill us. She can't kill us. And then we'll be taken out by this guy and pushed into chapter 6 and 7.
We should be getting close. I can't wait to see the look on her face.
Where then we'll be getting into those more difficult tricks. But also, those tricks tend to be a bit more flashy.
Hold on, because I might not have thought this next part completely. I'm going the wrong way. Get to her. I'll find you.
I suppose this is a nice relaxing part of the run.
Say that again?
That was probably the most relaxing part of the run. As well as that and the fall as well.
I honestly, truly didn't think you'd fall for that.
And then
In fact, I
now
devised a much
we
more
see
elaborate trap further ahead
GLaDOS.
for when you got through this easy walk.
Many say is their favorite
If I'd known
character.
you
Some
let
people
yourself
say
get
it's Wheatley,
captured
even though
this
Wheatley
easily,
betrays
I would have
us.
just dangled
Oh,
a
spoiler
turkey
alert.
leg on a
I
rope
apologize.
from the ceiling.
But as you can see, these turrets, we never sabotaged the turrets, yet we still have the bad turrets here.
Something stronger than a portal gun this time.
Which is convenient for us, because then we don't die in
I'm the
here.
immediate past president of the Being Alive Club. Haha. Seriously though, goodbye.
And then one thing that's also kind of funny is we'll also see that GLaDOS tries to bring in neurotoxin, which for us in this run we got rid of the neurotoxin. However, in ILs there is a strat that completely skips having to cut all the lasers by using a chair and a lot of climbing on level geometry, where you don't actually destroy the...
It's your old friend.
That's a nice skip.
If I were you, I'd take a deep breath and hold it.
But the IL strat is way too difficult for full game runs, and also the levels end slightly differently in ILs than in the main game. So for main game you would only save, I don't know, a second tops rather than the 10 seconds.
Wait, so
that the
IL is like the harder mode of the game?
It's not harder, it's just the same maps that I'm going through here, except there's a built-in mode that has that adds like a finish line to most maps. So like in this map, I would be playing through the whole thing, and then the IL would end once I hit the end level trigger.
Right.
However, on other maps, like Underground, I'll try to remember to make a note of it. You'll see the flags right before you open the door to the next map.
Are you just saying that, or is it really gonna hurt? You're just saying that, aren't you? You're just no, you're not.
The IL side is a lot of fun. If you ever want to go on like a speedrun binge of watching just miscellaneous random records, Portal 2 is a game that I recommend watching, because there's just a lot of crazy stuff that happens that I won't be doing here, just because the strats get pretty crazy pretty quickly. And then this is, as small as the movements I just did, this is the biggest skip in the game. Normally you would have to watch through Wheatley's whole cutscene here where he turns evil, he smashes the elevator down into the old aperture. However, by just jumping over this bar, getting to the back of the elevator before the invisible wall goes up, you can skip about 2 minutes 30 of dialogue and cutscene. So instead of this map being 7 minutes long, it's only about 3:40. And then now we have another cutscene where we are falling into old aperture. And actually, funny thing here is that the potato is actually getting stuck on the player model. You could tell because it was kind of moving a bit weird and also pushing against kind of an invisible barrier of sorts. That doesn't happen every run, so it's cool to see that happened here. I also hope that does not make me get a funny thing that happens, because sometimes in this map, if you get hit by the potato in just the perfect way, you can actually lose up to 12 seconds in a cutscene, which is funny. And we're gonna keep falling, and then we'll be going into the first map, which is Underground. Which Underground will just be a lot of movement. Since there isn't really many portal surfaces, many tricks to do, we'll do one shot that'll be more of kind of just a clever way of skipping a long straightaway. However, nothing super difficult in Underground. Technically, we'll be skipping part of this map, but nothing too substantial.
That is long fall.
Yeah. And then these are the kind of clever portal shots, if I can hit them in time. Just to kind of hit those levers quickly, go from all the way up there to down here, just to skip having to hop down the hallway, which is even off axis at one point, which makes some of the movement through that chasm just not the most fun to play. So I'm happy that we have the long shot to negate that movement. And then the next map we'll be going into here is called Cave Johnson, which you would think that we are going to now meet Cave Johnson. However, we actually don't, as we are going to do a skip just known as Cliff Shot, which skips actually a pretty big portion of the game for kind of how small it is. We're gonna just get to here, jump around the corner, shoot that portal there on the faraway surface, do a quick portal stand to here,
I
Put a
remember
couple portals
spending
here, and then-
quite a while on this map trying to find the exact portal surface I need that I could portal on, the exact surface. Oh wow,
Yeah.
yes, that's a nice one.
Yeah, that was a good segment for me. That was almost gold actually for me, which is cool. But then at the end there, we kind of abused some scripted momentum stuff that's there, so that the player can make it to what's normally supposed to be the blue gel lever properly. But then if we reportal that so that we get the scripted momentum and another 200 velocity from the portal trying to push you out, we can actually just get there pretty quickly. And then there is a seam shot, which a seam shot is kind of a funny glitch. It's a hole between two textures, however it's not like an actual hole, it's a coding glitch with collision, which then allows us to just shoot the surface that's behind it and then get up there a lot sooner.
Oh, we have another £10 donation, which brings us over the £500 mark. Thank you very much. From Bethany saying, here's another £10 for charity, but we need another £31 to get to the mega trip today. Everyone, donate. Yes. So for those not aware, we have a donation incentive where Felix has kindly offered to run 6 miles to get us awesome food at the nearby shipping, which has become quite famous in the UK for some reason. And to go there on foot. And if we beat the WASD 2022 donation amount, which was I think £539.39, which we are now very close to doing, then he will run away off the bench. So thank you. Some nice porcelain there.
You make up your own rules, just like me. Bean counter said I couldn't fire a man just for being a wheel.
The next trick here, which is going to be a pretty big one, it's going to use that view snapping that we did in Chapter 1, however, on a lot more a lot more obvious of a scale, where we're going to hit this seam shot right here by just kind of walking through, and then grabbing the cube in kind of a weird way. That is a more recent discovery, where if you look away from the cube, jump into the ceiling, then you can grab the cube from behind your head. It's a funky one. However, that cube behind the head grab, I mostly just do it for style points, as if you miss it a couple of times, it's slower than just going around and grabbing the cube. But it's style points are always fun to have. And this map here, named Potatoes, we're going to actually do a couple of things, if I can hit this surface, is I'm going to abuse a portal placement helper right there, which is basically just, they help you get the portal where it's supposed to be, but the helper goes slightly through that wall, so then we can just do a jump, hit that helper midair, and then get there a bit quicker. And then this, we're going to do a re-portal. I think I might be too low. No, I'm just fine. We're going to do a really cool fling that skips the whole cutscene of needing to get GLaDOS. So technically speaking, we don't get Potatoes. However, she just kind of pops up on our gun in the next chamber, as we'll see when I zoom back out. And then we'll use a gap there in the geometry. And then we'll do a quick re-portal there to skip 2 tests. As all of these maps are going to have some pretty most of them are just going to have big skips. Like Prop Intro, we skipped 2 of them. Prop Flings, which is coming up, we're going to skip the entire test. By doing a pretty cool trick. It's probably one of my favorite tricks in the game. It's the first one that I ever learned to get like super quick at. Where we jump on that gel, and then we scroll a bunch so that we just get launched right to the end. And that happens just because like you get with blue gel and slanted surfaces, something in the game code says, hey, you can jump multiple times each tick on this gel and get the momentum from each of those jumps.
Oh wow.
Which
Okay,
then
so you just end up
causes
compounding
that.
much.
Yeah. And then here is going to be conversion intro, which is one of the bigger skips in the game. Also kind of a more well-known one, and unfortunately skips the most well-known dialogue in the game, which is probably the lemon rant. By setting up some portals in specific positions, we can do another super reportal like we did earlier in the game, but it's in a slightly different way, so that we can get tons of momentum here, and then hit off of that geometry, and then launch right up to the second half, right to the end of the second half of the map here. And that saves about, I think it's about 50 seconds, at least if you compare the two IL records from strats previous to the launch to current record. It's about 50 seconds. And then this is another one where we're going to be doing a lot of skips, where normally you have to go up to the test above to do the 3 gels test. We're using all 3 gels. But then we can do a stuck launch here, which is where your hitbox gets stuck between 2 pieces of collision, while the game still thinks you're falling, and then you can hit... Oh, I can try to hit that pipe. That pipe can be a bit difficult to hit, but luckily I can just jump and strafe to the button here. And then we're going to do another super reportal to... Because now, above us, the vault door is opening. So, the gels are now going to the upper part of the facilities, and then normally we have to wait for an elevator to come down to get us. However, if this works for me here, we can get a ton of speed, and then just skip needing to wait for that elevator, and even the pipes to go down, which would be the next fastest strat. And then we will now be going into the Wheatley Aperture portion of the game. Where we'll be seeing probably the most broken glitch in the game, and probably the most used glitch in the game. Well, I guess not this chamber, the next chamber, but Chapter 8 will showcase a ton of what we call CFG. And since it takes a good amount of introduction, CFG is basically something that when you go into the funnels in the game gives you a counter of 1. If you have a counter of 1, then you can get the no gravity state in the funnel. But if you crouch while your hitbox falls asleep, then the game says, oh, you're crouched, you're a new hitbox, so we're going to up your counter by 1 again. And by upping your counter by 1 again, getting it to 2, then you can leave the funnel that you got CFG in, which then puts you into the open area with a counter of 1, which means you have that no gravity effect. And then I kind of just glossed over, we did a quick cube throw in doing that same principle where if you're against the door and the end level conditions are met, that door will just open for you so that it doesn't kill you. And that saves about 50 seconds where you are skipping the paradox cutscene.
Oh man alive, nothing feels better. It's just...
See if I can... And then, yeah, this monitor you can break by just hopping into it if you get up to 300 velocity.
Warning. Core overheating.
It's pretty fun to do if you're just bored there for a bit in that spot.
Really good. Oh, here's an idea. Since making... Ah, bless your little primate brain. I'm not actually in the room with you.
Quick dialogue skip there. And then now we'll be going into funnel intro, which will showcase that CFG.
Nothing.
And I will try my best to walk through it.
New tests. New tests. Gotta be some tests around here somewhere.
So here, we're crouched, we go into the funnel, and then we uncrouch, which then gives us that counter of 2. We then leave the funnel there. I'm actually gonna jump and then go back down again because I had a slow fly downwards. But then now that we have that counter of 1 when we're in the open space, I can now fly. And something that's really cool about this is that counter is persistent through loads. So now that I am in ceiling button, and I have gotten CFG in the last map, I can now just jump here to get to this button quicker. Which then allows us to beat the level really quick.
Yeah, made this test myself.
And then we'll be having that for the next 2 chambers as well.
Jammed them all together. Oh yes.
Where in wall button, we're gonna be having a cutscene where Wheatley is mashing 2 different test chambers together, and we can go over what is this giant gap, and we can just fly. And then I will be stopped right here because this room will have a final position that'll be already kind of marked by the game. There's some oddities about the position, but it allows me to fly over, get kind of a point in air that I can then fly over the button. And I just gotta throw that cube up at the button while I'm underneath the door to beat the level. And then we'll be using CFG a ton again in Polarity, where in Polarity it's kind of the funniest example of having CFG, because you'll see a test beneath us. However, we're not going to even care about what's happening in the test. We are literally just going to fly over it. However, this will then make it so that the next 2 chambers will not have CFG. Where we get a couple, well, we get one new glitch that we use here. Basically, we're going to shoot up here, and we're going to look at this grate down here, and then shoot a portal. That grate, since it has that kind of portal surface around the edge of it, and the grate itself is able to have a portal on it, you can shoot that little spot so that you can get a portal onto that platform underneath the button, getting the cube quickly.
Pages being turned. So that's just what I was doing, just reading books. So nothing more on.
And then the next map here is Stop the Box.
That was a very nice cube play.
And then Stop the Box here is another map that we're gonna kind of just use the environment around us to do something quick. So we're gonna place the portal here and here, get on the catapult, grab the cube in midair, and then we're just gonna go over to here and place the cube on the button, and then the level that way.
Just moving the old test chamber a little bit closer to me. I'd have thought maybe proximity to
pretty much just the intended solution, except we're skipping step 1 and 2.
What was that? Oh, sorry. Are you absolutely sure you're solving these?
And we'll be now in Laser Catapult. Laser Catapult is a fun one because we'll be getting CFG once again. And then we will have this for the next 2 chambers. And then using this pipe, we can bonk down so that we can get to the end level area as quick as we can.
I'm going to tape you solving these and then watch 10 at once. Get a more sort of concentrated burst of science. On a related note,
and then we'll be using the CFG in Laser Platform, where we're going to be doing a lot of flying to just make our speed go really quickly. Sometimes juggling the cubes in the air can be a bit finicky. And then we just use the edge of this portal. Looks like there we go. Use the edge of the portal to angle the cube in such a way that we can just end the level that way rather than needing to set it up on the platform above. And then here, we're going to get this funnel to get rid of our CFG so that we can go around a death trigger that is to the right. And then just end the level without having to go into kind of a small-ish cutscene. And then this map, from the level just starting there, we have just started a timer. So as Wheatley is rambling on here, I'm just going to get this cube as quick as possible. Just get CFG for just this chamber. And then... let's hope I don't... there we go.
For you, obviously. Who else would I be doing it for? No one. So, let's see here. Exit, exit, exit.
And then, if I was a bit quicker, I could have followed Peabody there into the room. However, I could have followed Peabody into the room, however, I got a bit of a weird angle on my fly, which just made it a bit harder to get. So I can just use the funnel to start the end level dialogue and beat it that way. And something to note about that level is you actually need to have Peabody move for the level to end. So you can go too quickly and be outside of the area that allows Peabody to move, and then you could be top locked. And then we'll be getting CFG once more. And this will be the last time that we get CFG, as we are going to...
Sorry, my fault. Butterfingers. Only 3 more chambers to your big surprise.
Didn't hit the door, they're going in. However, that'll be the last time we get CFG, and we will be holding on to it for the majority of Chapter 9, which will be the final chapter of the game. And then we'll just be flying over where normally a catapult is supposed to launch us. The catapult is actually quicker to go up until this hallway here, where you would have to wait for a very long funnel ride into the kind of catapult thing that you could see down there briefly, and then go into the part where he kills you. However, you know, we kind of just fly through it. The scene is set, but then we're just kind of an observer, because Wheatley doesn't know how to react when he sees us just flying through the air. And then just fly over here, and then bump down using that geometry on the end of the catwalk. Go past the crusher there.
Okay,
and
look,
then
I've decided I'm not going to kill you.
Into.
Okay, if you come back.
Went a bit too quickly there, so I decided to kill my speed. But then we'll just be doing a lot of this flying through
I've got an idea. Yes,
for a bit here. As normally, as that container behind us,
Hold on. I'm almost there.
normally the container that was just moving behind us, we'd have to wait for about 30-ish seconds to go by that, but we can just get right by it. No time at all, really. Yeah, you don't want that to happen. So let me load an auto save. That's... do I have a save that's better? I don't. So we'll just go back through it now. As today I learned that I need to make better saves through this part. So this time I will not get hit. And then I'm going to use this little geometry here. And then bonk my head on this lamp here. Ramp down off of this piece. And then portal hit the end trigger as fast as I can. And then just use some portals so that I don't have to do any walking. Jump up here and fly throughout this room here.
Hello?
as normally we would have to go through Wheatley's kind of death trap there with the bombs, but we can just fly over it. And then the funnel that we will see over here. There we go. Normally this funnel we would have to use to fly over to this end part here. We would sit in the funnel and then get pushed kind of over here at about, I believe it's 200 something velocity, but then we can just, with our CFG, go at near 500. As we now enter into the final map of the game, and we're going to have about a minute-ish of waiting if there is anything that you guys want to, anything you want to say.
Corrupted cores, we're in luck. You find a way to stun him, I'll send you a core, and then you attach it to him. If we do it a few times, he might become corrupt. Plug me in. Look, even if you think we're still enemies, we're enemies with a common interest. Revenge. You like revenge, right? Everybody likes revenge. Well, let's go get some.
Well, well, well. Welcome to my lair. Let me just flag something up. According to the control panel light up there, the entire building is going to self-destruct in about 6 minutes. I'm pretty sure it's a problem with the light. I think the light's on the blink, but just in case it isn't, I am actually...
Wait, you mute? Is that one?
As discussed earlier. So let's call that 3 minutes and then a minute break.
Sorry, we had an issue there where our mics were muted. Oh dear.
Oh.
Yeah. So it should be fine now, and it looks like we're coming up with time.
And I'm not going to make the same mistakes. 4-part plan is this. 1. No portal services. 2. Start the neurotoxin immediately. 3.
Here we go into the bulk of now the boss fight, where now we've done our waiting. I gotta find line.
I'm going to give you a sporting chance and turn off the neurotoxin. I'm joking, of course.
And then I'm going to attempt to juggle some bombs from the previous cycle here. Use some geometry to boost up onto the railings.
Sounded real? No, that was actually an impression of you. Actually, because
and then, oh, I'm not gonna go through there.
Just said, I wanted you.
And then, cool. So it looks like I got the bombs cycling. So then, what we can do? We can then hit Wheatley with his bombs from the previous cycle. To then skip about 8 seconds where he is waking up.
Corruption at 50%. Vent system compromised. Neurotoxin offline. Reactor explosion in...
And then for his third core, we're just going to hit him with another bomb. There's a strategy where you can continue to preserve bombs from the first cycle to hit him here in his third cycle to save about 2 seconds. However, it is a lot more precise and not something that I have incorporated in runs quite yet.
Reactor explosion timer.
And then here, we're going to do a little bit of a fling to skip that orange shell breaking.
This facility will self-destruct
and
in
then
2 minutes.
We're going to throw the core in there. And we are going to start to approach the end of the run. There's 2 points that this run could end. There's a trick called early moonshot where we can shoot the moon from when we are inside of the stalemate room as it's exploding, and but if I don't hit that, then it'll be when I hit the moon from the normal position. But I will tell you when the timing ends. Because sometimes I hit this trick, sometimes I don't. And then we're actually just gonna, as the white gel is disappearing, we can place a portal on this.
So when does time happen in this case?
Time happens...
Fire detected in the stalemate resolution annex. Extinguished.
It'll end once I can see the moon here and I shoot a portal.
Right.
There was a point there where I could have shot the hitbox early, which would have ended the run. However, I missed it by just a smidge. But then timing will end now.
Now.
Nice.
Are you still alive? You are joking! You have got to be kidding me! Well, I'm still in control, and I have no idea...
And that was Portal 2 Inbound's no SLA.
Thank you very much
Nice,
for that.
thank you. Could we get some applause? Nice one.
Space!
If anybody in the crowd was happy with what they saw today or interested, am I allowed to plug the speedrunning Discord?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so then our Discord will be discord.gg/p2sr. You can hop in. We got tons of tutorials. In fact, our main set of tutorials for this category just got redone in the last year. So all of the routes are pretty much up to date, except for just a couple of optimizations, which we have excellent help channels that we can help you get those optimizations and improve your runs pretty quickly. But it's an awesome game, and I'm actually going to pause this cutscene because unfortunately the next two songs, which are some of the favorite songs
they
of
might
the
get us
fan base,
taken up.
are
Oh yeah, they're copyright, aren't they? So
I see. That's more
they are copyrighted.
cheers.
However, yeah, if you want to join discord.gg/p2sr, we would love to see you.
Awesome.
All right, thanks. No, really appreciate the run.
Yeah.
Some great strats here. Thank you very much. Okay, wait, we switched back to us. I see. We will be taking a short break now as we make sure that the Celeste chase is set up, and then it will happen. The final run of the.
There
day.
are a couple gimmicks that we've got in store that hopefully are going to be pretty entertaining.
Yes,
so
as you will
yeah,
come to
they're
find
pretty
out.
good. They're pretty good.
Does that mean I'm off air?
Oh yes.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Yeah, no.
We're just going to go to a short break now.
Yeah. See you after the break.
Yeah.